This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Always good to see a familiar face. Of course, we really can't see your face, but we know you're smiling, and we're glad you tuned in for another edition of the Farm Monitor.
Yeah, what he said. And hey, we think you're going to like today's show. Straight ahead, an update on this year's cotton crop, as well as what researchers say could be a means to avoiding crop loss during major storms. Also on the show, new data suggesting the growth of the country's guest workers program is now slowing. An American Farm Bureau economist weighs in on the potential causes.
Plus, we're going to take you to Lawrence County for a heartwarming story on Danny Hogan. His name, synonymous with conservation agriculture, and now it's a name forever etched in a reputable Hall of Fame. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Farm Monitor.
After seeing the majority of their crop wiped out by Hurricane Michael, it's an important year for cotton growers here in Georgia. Damon Jones tells you what kind of yields they're expecting and what the University of Georgia is doing to help mitigate their risk against future storms.
This will be the scene on a number of different farms across Georgia in the coming months as cotton growers prepare for harvest. Now, while the weather wasn't ideal during the growing season, this year's crop still appears to be a good one overall.
It's especially hard this year on some of our later planted stuff where soil temps were over 100 and we were lacking moisture. So that presented a challenge. We replanted probably more cotton this year than we have in several years before that combined. Where rainfall's been limited, we've got some poor cotton, to be honest with you. Where we've had irrigation, we've done a fairly good job. So if we can get the crop in, I think we'll be pretty happy altogether as far as yields go.
Despite some of those difficulties, farmers should still have no problem getting their cotton out of the field on time, if not sooner.
We picked cotton last Friday, and that's one of the first times we've picked cotton in August in a long time. But all in all, I'd say the crop's, at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead. So as far as looking at it from a standpoint of when we should be pulling the trigger and getting ready to get the harvester out, it's probably sooner than later.
After suffering major damage from Hurricane Michael last year and Hurricane Matthew in 2016, the University of Georgia has been looking at ways to lessen some of the danger these kinds of storms present to the growers. And one of those is seeing just how early a crop can be planted without sacrificing its quality.
The big thing is we can't do anything about a hurricane. If a hurricane comes, it's going to blow cotton on the ground if it's susceptible to that storm. And what we mean by that is we don't want that entire crop to be open to storm damage at one time. And the idea is that we can spread out our risk. In Georgia, we've got the opportunity there to spread out our harvest over a few months.
Even though you're not likely to see a major change on when the seed goes into the ground for most of the crop, it is an option worth considering for some of it, despite the challenges it might create for the farmers.
We know it's more difficult to potentially grow early cotton because you have less room for error, but it can be done, and that's one of the things we're looking at is the different ways producers can impact the time it takes from the day we put that cotton seed in the ground to the day we get the picker out. I don't think we're going to go to an early production system with cotton. We're not going to do that because our system works so well as it is now. But ultimately, I think there's room for us to be able to pull some early and get some of that crop out earlier and spread that risk.
But as for this year, there is plenty of optimism heading into harvest season, which is good news for growers looking to bounce back from a disastrous 2018.
We did a lot of storm assessments last year, and there's no doubt it hurt a lot of people extremely bad, and a lot of farmers are still lucky to be here. So we need a good cotton crop, and all in all, I think we've got it as long as we had the water. And assuming we can get it in the picker this year.
Reporting from Tifton, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
All right, how about some other ag news? New data from the Labor Department suggesting that U.S. farmers and ranchers still need record numbers of guest workers, despite the fact that the number of position requests increased this year by 2%. Now, who uses the H-2A program most, you ask? Well, that would be Georgia.
We all know that Georgia has had a challenging last 12 months or so with pretty significant hurricane having an impact in that state. And so when we looked at the data that just came out, we do in fact see a dip in the number of positions requested by that state. I think that's a good example of the type of production challenges that we're talking about and what we're thinking is going on in a number of states. Is it what we think? Is it just that we've had a rough production year and that's slowed the growth in the program? Or indeed have we reached maturity on the program? And we won't know that until we've seen a few more years of data. Right now, we're just going to have to sit and wait, which is usually the hardest part.
Well, every once in a while, you run across something that you, without a doubt, just know is sent from a higher power.
Case in point, Macon Burger Week. 7 days of delicious burgers that only cost $5. The Monitor's John Holcomb tells us all about it and how it ultimately supports Georgia beef producers.
Things are getting tasty down in Macon as year 2 of Macon Burger Week is set to begin September 16th. It's a week that's sure to give your taste buds a run for their money, as 19 restaurants have created burgers that will no doubt make your mouth water.
Burger Weeks are not a new concept for the Georgia Beef Board. We've been a part of both the Atlanta and Savannah Burger Weeks throughout the past several years, and we thought it would be a great idea to bring this to Macon. So we brought it to Macon last year and had 15 participating restaurants. This year, we're excited to announce that we're up to 19 with some new faces and some new places that are excited to be a part of what we have going on.
The event is put on by the Georgia Beef Board, which is an organization that works to make the Georgia beef industry successful.
The Georgia Beef Board exists to promote and educate the consumers about the beef industry here in the state. We're funded by beef farmers and ranchers on behalf of the Beef Checkoff. And again, we work to educate and promote the beef product and build beef demand in Georgia.
The way Burger Week works is simple. As you try the burgers, which by the way are only $5, you get a stamp and a passport booklet which will enter you for a chance to win prizes. Which is why this event is so great, as it gets people engaged and ultimately helps promote a cut of beef that is somewhat undervalued.
This is obviously a great event for the Beef Board to be a part of because we get to be tied directly into beef being eaten and being promoted and local businesses being supported all over the city. The ground beef product is not always the most marketable beef cut, so we get to dedicate a whole week to it and get to promote it and market it, and people are eating it all week long in a city. So it's a great win for farmers and ranchers around the state for the ground beef product to be eaten and be promoted for a week long, and we're excited to be a part of it.
One of the restaurants participating is last year's Macon Burger Week champion, Old Mulgy Brew Pub. I paid them a visit, and they said they were excited to win last year and are glad to be a part of the event again this year to help promote Georgia beef.
Burger Week last year was so much fun. Participants had a blast, restaurants had a blast. It was way busier than we thought it was going to be, which was really exciting. Anything that can bring people downtown and to the surrounding city to get people visiting their local restaurants and eating more beef is a win-win for everybody.
They know firsthand just how important the beef industry is here in Georgia as they source their beef locally.
Everything we do here is super fresh. We grind all of the beef in-house daily. We make sure that it's the freshest ingredients and we make it all in-house, never frozen. And so to promote the beef industry for us and work with local farmers is a lot of hard work, but it's really rewarding supporting other local businesses, local farmers and things like that. So we enjoy Burger Week, promoting the beef industry and continuing to help us sell a lot of burgers.
You can find a full list of restaurants and their burgers, as well as other information, at MaconBurgerWeek.com. Reporting in Macon for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
When we come back, his name is now forever etched in the Hall of Fame. Which one and why? That is next when the Farm Monitor continues.
Ups and downs are not foreign to the dairy industry. For generations, farmers have struggled to find balance during uncertain markets and fluctuating milk prices. Typically, this comes in 3-year cycles, says industry expert Gary Saporsky of Vita Plus. Today, dairy producers are enduring a 4- and 5-year cycle, and many are faced with tough decisions about the future.
Well, right now, we're seeing a lot of consolidation in the dairy industry. Sadly, we see farms every day that give up their license to produce milk. We'll probably see less farms in the future. We're probably going to go through 19, maybe the first part of 20, with maybe a $16 milk price.
Sooner or later, this cycle will break, Saporsky says, and there will be opportunities for those committed to doing an excellent job raising dairy cows and managing the farm. In order for young people to be successful, he explains what he calls the four-legged milk stool.
Number one is you got to enjoy cows. It isn't just machinery on a farm. You really got to enjoy the cattle. Secondly, you got to know how to buy and grow high-quality feed or crops on the farm. Thirdly, you need to understand the financials, balance sheets, and cash flows. And then you need to know how to work with family members and hired labor.
Before all else, Saporsky says farmers have to set their priorities, and investing in quality dairy cows should be at the top of that list.
The first thing that young people need to do is invest in the milk cows. Cows is what generates the gross income. It takes about 1.5 to 2 years to pay a cow pay for herself once she freshens. Well, we got to keep that cull rate low so that they're around for 3, 4, and 5 years, because that's where they make money.
Success lies in the daily details, and that extends beyond cow care and day-to-day operations into business planning and financial management.
They need to have a balance sheet. They need to understand assets and liabilities. They need to know what a cash flow is. They need to do how a projection. And then they need to have a business plan. It doesn't have to be lengthy, but it needs to be detailed of just really what they want to do and what they want to focus on.
Farmers who take an interest in high-performing cows and genetics, like U.S. registered Holsteins, will be able to add value now and into the future, Saporsky says.
Registered animals are always going to hold their value because they are the seed stock of the dairy industry, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. And those that maintain those records and retain the production records and the history of where those animals came from will actually show an increased value in the future.
For Holstein Association USA, I'm Miles Ramsey.
We'll name an award for efforts in conservation, and chances are Danny Hogan has received it. His latest notch in the belt coming last month when the Lawrence County native was inducted into the National Association of Conservation Districts Southeast Region Hall of Fame. Yeah, I know, that's a mouthful, right? But after spending a few hours with Danny, it's easy to see why the man who wears so many hats is so well respected. It really doesn't get much simpler than this. Sitting on your front porch while taking in the sights and sounds of rural America. Then again, Danny Hogan likes to think of himself as a simple man, someone living the American dream, and someone who cares more about others than himself. Case in point, his recent induction ceremony.
I'd like to tell you folks how much I appreciate this, but I also need to tell you I don't think I deserve it.
The award meant a lot to me from a standpoint of some of the people that has received this award in the past. People like Mr. Garland Thompson, who was a great conservationist, just a great guy. And he's on that list, and it is just an awesome honor for me to be listed with those type people, and I feel like I might come up short. One of the main things that I think that makes it so important to me, and I hope to a lot of other people, is the fact that the air and the dirt and the water that we have has got to last a long time. And if we don't conserve it, our kids and grandkids down the road are going to come up lacking. I think the future of farming, people are going to continue to eat. There's several fields you can get into that you're not going to lose. One is the medical field, the cemetery business, and the food business. All those are going to thrive. And so I think farming has got a bright future.
Aside from his conservation efforts, Danny's expertise also include anything and everything dealing with equines. For 32 years, he's been a member of the Georgia Farm Bureau Equine Committee. Additionally, he serves on the Georgia Department of Agriculture Equine Commodity Board, Lawrence County Livestock Facility Committee, and in 2019, was appointed to the Equine Advisory Committee by State Veterinarian Dr. Robert Cobb. When asked about his favorite breed of horse, that's simple, said Danny, the quarter horse.
Well, they're so versatile. I reckon you can get on them and go trail riding. You can get on them and go get a cow up. You can rope a cow on them. You can cut a cow on them. You can run barrels on them. Show them in halter, because they're one of the prettiest horses they are to me. Ride them in pleasure and horse shows. There's just not many. If you got a good quarter horse, there's not many things you cannot do on them.
So as you can see, farming, equines, and agriculture in general are pretty much all Danny has known his whole life. Still, if it all went away tomorrow, Danny thinks he has a backup plan.
I tell you, and I hate to say this, law intrigues me. I wouldn't want to be a lawyer necessarily, but I would like to know a little more about law. I watch a lot of these judge shows on TV. Don't always agree with the judges, but law does intrigue me, and I don't think I'd ever want to be a lawyer, but I would like to know more about it.
Actually, he's kind of got that whole Western sheriff thing going for him, doesn't he? Well, when we come back, it's a stroll down memory lane, how and why Georgia 4-H was created. Stay with us. You're watching the Farm Monitor.
The story of the Georgia 4-H Environmental Education Program is a story of necessity. It's also a story of passion, determination, relevance, and lives changed. It's a story that started in 1979.
By the 70s, the Rock Eagle 4-H Center found itself in a situation where the budget was very tight. And we started looking for new business to help correct that matter. So the environmental education program kind of fell in our lap and gave us kids, number one, that we needed and our center was designed for, and number two, they came during the week, which made it even better.
When Dr. Tom Rogers hired me to start the environmental education program, he said, no, look, he said, we've never done this before. This is a complete experiment, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you 6 months to see if you can make this program work and an annual budget of $300. And that was truly a challenge, one of the first challenges I had. But I thought that I had been given the greatest gift in my life. It was a chance for me to recreate my childhood for thousands and thousands of children. We wanted to utilize the outdoors as a dynamic living laboratory for academic study.
That story is still relevant today. Over the 40-year life of the Georgia 4-H Environmental Education Program, we have remained committed to complementing school standards, bringing learning to life, strengthening relationships among youth and adults, building connections to nature, and providing unparalleled experiences in the ultimate classroom without walls.
Well, we came 40 years ago, so we're a 40-year school. And from the beginning, our guiding idea was that students can learn outside of the classroom, sometimes better than they can learn in the classroom. It connects them with the learning in such a positive, strong way that we decided after the first year we were coming forever.
This experience is just transformative for them. We've gotten to see students who have never been to the beach.
They do things by themselves for the first time. They take this emotional and educational leap and they become more mature. And seeing a kid triumph out in the woods of Rock Eagle, that's the best memory for me.
Over the past 40 years, the legacy and the vision of one person has grown into a program that has benefited more than 1 million participants with life-changing experiences.
Diane knew what it took to make sure that it was going to be successful. And I think deep down inside, Diane also understood that it wasn't just her program, that the program belonged to Georgia 4-H, that it belonged to the schools of the state, of the Southeast for that matter, and probably most importantly, it belonged to the children that were going to come through the program and benefit from her dream and her idea.
I found so often, particularly today, that oftentimes children are education rich, but experience poor. And so our program gives them a chance to have very wonderful experiences in the outdoor environment that teaches them many of the different skills that they might not ever acquire.
The story of the Georgia 4-H Environmental Education Program is still as necessary and vital as it has ever been. 40 years later, our story continues to be written, and we invite you to be part of the next chapter.
Well, finally today, we finish with Kenny's favorite hobby, quilt making.
Actually, that would be dream weaving.
Yeah, now, all kidding aside, quilt making is a tradition often highlighted at county fairs and other rural festivals.
Charles Denny shows us the makings of a quilt trail where agriculture and history are celebrated.
Pieced together with loving skill, layered beauty, comfort, and history. Ceiling to floor, Tennessee quilts were on display at the Wilson County Fair. Dozens of pretty creations, intricate patterns decorated to the hilt. For fair visitors, it's a must-see stop.
Most of the time when people enter, they say, "Show me where the quilts are," because that's something that they can remember their grandparents, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers working on when they were little. Everybody likes to have a cozy quilt to snuggle up with, and so coming to see the quilts at the fair is a great family tradition.
It takes time, patience, and a steady hand to bring cloth to life like this.
And just about any heritage skill that you want to see, you can find here.
Wanda Bradell, here crocheting a hat for a cancer charity, says the Wilson Fair is a great place to honor these traditions.
We need to keep them alive so we can pass them down so future generations will be able to do them.
It's hard to say when the first quilts were made in Tennessee, but perhaps before there even was a Tennessee, prior to 1800. Early quilt making was reserved for more affluent families, but in time everyone learned this skill because they needed a way to stay warm. Here scissors cut ribbon instead of fabric, a new way to experience quilts the Wilson way. UT Extension teamed with local leaders and the fair board to lay out a quilt trail through the Fiddler's Grove Historic Exhibit on the grounds. Each year, the fair highlights an ag commodity, and quilts are made to showcase these areas. These are actually framed photographs of the featured quilts attached to buildings, 9 in all.
So it's just a good way to maybe on the off season of the fair and even during the fair have that agritourism aspect and get some people that maybe wouldn't have come to Fiddler's Grove or hadn't heard about it on the grounds and see the quilt trail and then learn about the history of Wilson County and the agriculture in Wilson County.
Quilts observe holidays and heritage. Now the quilt trail on the fairgrounds serves as a reminder that we can celebrate the past in modern ways, pretty and proud. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, Charles, thank you so much, and thank you for watching the Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming, plus with us here on the show.
See you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.